Mr. Investor Lot, welcome back to the channel, baby. Today we're talking about Bionano Genomics. Stock price continues to flow underneath $1. It's about 64 cents right now. But current investors are really frustrated with reverse split because it has negative connotations. Plus it invites heavy shorting. Ultimately, they need to raise more funds, so when they reverse split, they're going to use their ATM facility to further dilute shareholders, but also to raise capital. But I'm just going to give you some updates from what I found on the internet so far, so just research updates. I have 54,000 bingo shares. Haven't bought any more shares, just a couple I picked up at this price. But I'm waiting to see, the reverse split will go through. I'm waiting to see further dilution if they raise capital, because I think that's what they're going to do because they need to survive. Taking a loan in this kind of market as well with high interest rates is going to be so expensive. Is also an option. And people will be asking me, what are you voting in terms of the proxy vote? I can't vote because my provider doesn't allow us to do proxy votes, and it's coming, I think, like within the end of the month of June. So I'll probably miss it. I won't get to vote with my voting power. And although I'm frustrated with the management, I can only see the reverse split and the ATM facility is the way for them to survive. Do you know any other ways that they could possibly raise money apart from taking an expensive loan at the moment? They need a hell of a lot of cash, and I don't know if someone would loan them that much money for FDA approval of the new machine and to continue their strategy. Anyways, please remember, none of this is financial advice, is for entertainment only. These are the current updates that I've found. On Twitter, sometimes you get, doctors talking about what does this patient have? What would you diagnose this as? How do you identify this condition? Currently, there are people talking about AML, and there is a Guilherme, how do you say this? It's a French one. Guilherme Richard Carpentier. So he's based over in Canada. He's a Canadian hematologist, and he's stating that you can pick it up with optical genome mapping. So it's interesting to see people start to explore and to talk about, optical genome mapping. Some great episodes coming up next. Maybe in the next few days, I'll try and get them out. But I've been talking to customers of Bionano Genomics and seeing what they think about the Sapphire system, and what are the pros and cons of optical genome mapping. Let's go over to LinkedIn. There is the Chief Medical Officer of Praxis Genomics. He was talking about the CMS having this preliminary gap fill rate for 2024. So they released these codes, and these PLA codes were for cancer, for whole genome and optical genome mapping services. So as we can see here, the reimbursement, oncology pan-tumor, of whole genome sequencing and optical genome mapping paired together is $4,183. If you look at whole genome optical mapping itself, it's about $1,263 reimbursement. How much margin can they make if the flow cell itself is about $450, $500? They also need to have staff to hire them to run this as well, and to also provide the genetic counseling service to the client. I'm thinking, what are the margins on this if they were to get this kind of reimbursement? Next, over in France, they're talking about using optical genome mapping in routine cytogenetic diagnosis of acute leukemia. And they have stated, in conclusion, optical genome mapping is attractive alternative to current multiple cytogenetic testing in acute leukemia, and it simplifies the procedure and reduces costs. Some genomics professionals have been looking also at the cowpea, Bionano. They used it for de novo assembly of 7 cowpea sessions. In terms of jobs over at brainhunter.com, we can see in Vancouver, they were hiring for a clinical laboratory geneticist for Cancer and Genetics and Genomics Laboratory, Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine. Here, the requirements were a PhD in genetics or a related field. The ones who are hiring are the Cancer, Genetics and Genomics Laboratory, CGL. In terms of expectations, the successful candidates will be expected to cover the full breadth of tests offered by CGL, including FISH, marrow-based karyotype analysis, optical genome mapping. So we can see they're hiring and they're utilizing the Sapphire system. Sapphire system has also been used to explore Asian rice, and they're looking to actually breed new varieties that are nutritious, sustainable, and climate resistant, because the world population is expected to increase approximately 10 billion by 2060 to 2070. Stated 11 clustered inversions were validated with available Bionano optical maps. In terms of humans, there was a family here helped with optical genome mapping, a family that suffered from severe hemophilia. So it was deciphering a novel complex inversion affecting F8 in a family with severe hemophilia. So what is hemophilia? NHS site said severe bleeding. So joint bleeding is more frequent and severe. Children with severe hemophilia have spontaneous bleeding. This means they start bleeding for no apparent reason. This article was pretty interesting too. Optical genome mapping for cytogenetic diagnostics in AML. And these guys are coming out of Bochum, Germany, both at the Ruhr University Bochum and at the University Hospital Krankenhaus Bochum. They've stated that optical genome mapping is compared to amplification-based techniques and a brief outlook for future directions given. And they were exploring how it could expand the use of cytogenetic diagnostics in AML using the ability of OGM, and perhaps it can even replace older techniques such as chromosomal banding analysis and FISH, and also copy number variation microarrays. What's interesting here is the conflict of interest statement. So the congress and travel fees were paid for by some pharmaceutical companies. Jazz Pharmaceuticals, you have Pfizer there, AbbVie, and Roche. There's so many different pharmaceutical companies interested because with leukemia, some of these companies are developing drugs, neuroscience. You see Jazz Pharmaceuticals, neuroscience, but also oncology. This leukemia therapeutics market is expected to be valued at $27.78 billion in 2027. They even had their own drug and they won FDA approval for that drug for leukemia, for ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The drug was called Besponsa, and that was in 2017. So although the funders had no role in the design of the study, collection, analysis, interpretation of data, writing of the manuscript, or the decision to publish the results, they're funding it because they want to find out about optical genome mapping and how it could be used in diagnostics, because they are creating drugs for AML. So ultimately they're going to be able to profit and make some nice moolah, especially if they can show, improved treatments, and if it's able to increase the diagnostic yield. More people will be diagnosed, they can get treatment earlier, and you can get them on the drugs earlier so they could make more profit. I think that's their stance on it. For all, it's big pharma, they're always about making moolah. But so long as the patients are helped and the families are helped who are suffering from leukemia, that's the main thing. Genomics is also being used for the Peking duck genome. So what they were exploring as well was understanding the genetic basis of short-term intense artificial selection of the Peking duck pure line, and they wanted to take a look at breast muscles, the weight of that juicy breast, because they want to create the ultimate Peking duck perhaps. The lab called Serba is also utilizing optical genome mapping. They said that they have now it available as a new test, which they've put on their website. They operate on the French and international market of specialized clinical pathology, and they state themselves as a European leader. In terms of the diagnostics market for myeloid leukemia, it's expected to also grow, and it's forecasted to reach 5.8 billion by 2030. In terms of bread wheat, the African bread wheat, they utilize also optical genome mapping here. To validate the genome assembly, they use Bionano Show. Over in England as well, they were using Bionano Genomics optical genome mapping's ability to detect structural variation in AML MDS. It has mass potential. It has a huge potential to replace the techniques with reduced workloads, turnaround time, and costs, while increasing resolution and diagnostic yields. Optical genome mapping can detect structural variants over a wide dynamic range, so 500 base pairs to multiple megabases. OGM has the potential to replace the majority of G-band, SMP array, and FISH analysis. OGM could facilitate quicker results, novel variant discovery, and improve patient care. Optical genome mapping is also winning prizes. Wanda Girding received the Law-Zek Prize. So, the Law-Zek Prize is a historical prize. There was a Professor Law-Zek. 1923 she was born. Her studies resulted in the development of Q-banding methods. And because of her outstanding research, she got prizes all over the world. In 1999, she also became an honorary member of the European Society of Human Genetics. Wanda has won a prize in her name, and she won it using optical genome mapping. And her publication was Optical Genome Mapping Reveals Additional Prognostic Information, and it was in AML and MDS patients. And she compared this to the conventional cytogenetic methods. With her research team from Bochum and Essen, when they were investigating this new method of optical genome mapping, they said it offered more accuracy and it had more detailed information on the genetic basis of the disease in 2/3 of all cases examined, and this was for leukemia. There's an article here also on the technology networks. When I was looking up Dr. Wanda Girding, she stated that optical genome mapping facilitates genome-wide analysis of regions that are important for the classification and therapy of leukemias using one methodology. Furthermore, it allows the identification of new genomic regions and new genes. Check this out. It has the potential to become an important component of routine diagnostics for patients with leukemia. Bionano Genomics, I think this technology, they have a gold mine here. They really do have a gold mine. But the only thing is how to get adoption within the market. They're creating their own blue ocean, as Eric Homeland would say, a blue ocean. But at the moment, they're running out of cash. They're burning money like crazy. They went for 2 large acquisitions to help them with their workflow, not only with the ultra high molecular weight DNA prep, but also for the data analysis of optical genome mapping afterwards. So now with those two acquisitions, it completely, tapped into the reserves of cash that they raised before. And now when they're going to reverse split, they need to raise more cash in order to get FDA approval of the new machine Stratus to continue, growing as a company, to continue operations. But there's a lot of cost saving that needs to be done. And I think they want to continue to burn a lot of cash and continue to push. Also, they're fighting on the front of trying to get these reimbursement codes, which is more difficult, I heard, over in the US. So will Bionano Genomics be able to survive? How are the shareholders who have believed in the company and invested at $15, $12, $10, even now at like $2, $3, how will they be rewarded for holding on and continuing to invest in the stock when the company is not valuing them and it's burning cash so fast and is not returning at the moment? It's going to be either a really long hold or it's going to be like shareholder value destruction. Shareholders are really upset at the moment. When is going to be that breaking point? We've seen with Palantir recently, we've seen Palantir start to turn into profitability. When is that going to happen for Bionano Genomics if they're expecting, although revenues will increase and it will increase nicely, the costs are going to continue to increase? So on their strategy day, they showed that costs will continue to increase. So will it ever reach the point of profitability? And when will that inflection point happen? When will mass adoption also happen? They're targeting first the blood cancer market. So cancer, then rare disease. But cancer, I think, is where their main focus in particular with these blood cancers. See all these articles. See lots of the stuff that they're putting out about hematological malignancies. Lots of the research is going into that and targeting that market. Over in the Middle East as well, in Doha, in Qatar, they are hiring a regional channel manager. They want a full-time employee to continue pushing sales. The NHS still exploring optical genome mapping. It's going to be a little while still before they get full adoption. I think some of the things that is holding it back is the throughput of the machine. They're still waiting for maybe the new Sapphire system, which will have a 13x throughput increase. But I think they're also waiting for the cost to come down, because right now it's $450, $500 per flow cell. So how am I feeling as an investor in Bionano Genomics? Well, it's pretty tough, isn't it? It's tough holding, watching the company go through perhaps a reverse split, continuing to dilute you as a shareholder, and you're waiting to see when will they provide value. It's providing a lot of value to the world. It feels like the management has been focusing on, high compensation. I know they have to retain valuable members of staff, but the compensation's been too high with the amount of revenue they're making. So they're losing a lot of money there. Put a lot of needless hires in as well. There were some hires they didn't need to have. And as investors, we're in this weird state of limbo, just waiting to see, when will these reimbursement codes come in? Are they going to be able to raise enough cash to survive? Are they going to raise enough cash to get the FDA approval? You're in a weird state of limbo, not knowing what's going to happen first. Are they going to run out of cash? Will they take a loan? Proxy vote, we're waiting to see the results to see if are they going to reverse split and be able to ATM facility. At the end of the day, I'm still holding my shares. I'm waiting for that reverse split. I'm waiting for them to raise money. And then I'm probably going to start to dollar cost average down. If they're able to raise the money, get in a better financial position, stop burning so much money. And if they're able to increase their revenues to a point, I'm waiting for it, the inflection point, where there'll be mass adoption for maybe blood cancers across the UK, NHS, over in America as well, across Europe. I'm waiting to see if this is going to happen, if it does happen. Until that moment of time, I'm not investing anymore. I'm going to wait until after the reverse split. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to invest in, some solid companies. Tesla, I'm going to invest in Palantir, another company, C3 AI. I've been looking at that for the last couple months now. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and feelings as a Bionano Genomics investor. Let me know if you're bullish, what you're most bullish about. Let me know if you're bearish and how you feel about cash being burnt, about this reverse split. Drop me all the comments down below, and I'm going to catch you in the next video. Please remember, none of this is financial advice, for entertainment only. Wishing you a lovely weekend. Mr. Investor, over and out, baby.